Live from Los Angeles. Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa Land. I am so excited to welcome to the show today, Jen Lilley. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you all for having me.
Beautiful dress.
Thank you.
I absolutely love your vibes. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you should check it out immediately while you're watching the show because it's so cool and retro, and I'm totally inspired by it.
Thank you.
You are really bringing back like the 60s flair with style.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So you're an actress, singer, and you're a foster mom.
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot going on.
How do you manage all that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Lots of prayer and meditation.
Yeah.
Positive vibes.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do you incorporate that in your life to really stay balanced?
I think when you have a purpose behind what you do, it helps keep you at peace and, keep anxiety at bay. So for me, one of the reasons I became an actress was because, as you all know, you're having me here today because people listen to celebrities and, really we just play dress up and say lines for a living, or, we entertain and tell stories with song and acting. So I wanted to have a career that had a platform, and then my platform would be foster care because I care about it so deeply. It's such a problem in the United States, and Los Angeles alone in particular makes up 10% of the United States orphans and children in foster care. Wow. Our city alone, which is insane, and 50% of California. So that's what keeps me, going. Is just trying to help.
So in Transformation Tuesday, we talk a lot about, obviously, when people first think about transformation, they always think about the body, right? It's like typical. But transformation, of course, we know starts in mind, and usually it starts from, a place that we go, I'm done. I'm done with whatever I'm ready to let go of.
Sure.
What was that moment for you? Did you have like a profound transformation around
I've had a profound transformation through foster care. I'm very A-type. I'm very much a control freak. So, the visual analogy I like to use is that I like to cling to everything, right? Like I have to control my schedule and I have to be able to do this and I have to set these goals and then make them happen. And foster care just slowly makes your hands just pry open because you have zero control as a foster parent. You don't have any rights. You don't have a say in the child's future, and yet you love them as if they're your own. So it does cause you to transform. You cry a lot. I cry a lot. I'm in the process of adopting my foster son, who is my first placement, which is amazing. But in that process, there's been so many times where I drive him to school and I'm going to cry, but I look in the rearview mirror and just feel like, I love you so much. But I have to know that God loves you more and he's going to take care of you, and that you have a plan over your life because we all have a plan over our life. So lots and lots of just trusting that I'm playing my part in his life, and whatever will be, will be. So it's definitely caused me to just have to remain open and vulnerable and willing to take, what comes each day. So that's been very transforming for me.
Wow.
It's a beautiful way of putting it.
Thank you.
A spiritual teacher that we talk about sometimes, he always said that love is an open hand.
That's so good.
And that the challenge with love is that, it's like fresh air. When it enters your home, you want to keep it fresh, so you close all the windows, but then the air becomes stale and it becomes very controlling.
Yes.
It's not love at all. So how do you continue to get through stuff like that? Is it just through the prayer and meditation, remembering the purpose?
Remembering the purpose, for sure. And just knowing, there's a lot of people I speak to that say, oh, that's God bless you, I could never be a foster parent. I would get too attached. Don't you get attached? And I'm like, of course I get attached. But my response to that is that if you think you would be too attached to the children that you'd foster, then you would make an excellent foster parent because that's what these children need. And one thing I always say is the way I kind of view it and get through it is these children are going to sustain and experience so much pain throughout their life. And if I, with my adult-sized heart, can take a little bit of the pain that they would have otherwise experienced, then I've done something good and I've done something lasting. So it's just amazing. But it's continual, just processing your emotions, letting them happen, when they're happening, cry, and then being like, it's okay.
Wow. So what do people do if they want to become and get involved in being a foster parent? What do they do?
One thing that they can do, the easiest way to go about it, oh gosh, I don't know if it's the easiest, but the
one way
to do it would be to go down to their local Department of Children and Family Services. That's what it's called in California. I know in some states it's called Child Protective Services, and some it's called Human Services. So they can just go and say, I'm interested in being a foster parent. I'm not committing yet, but I do want to take an introductory class to just figure out what that is and and get the information, because there's I know so many stats on foster care, but basically 50% of people that were surveyed across America believe that children in foster care are juvenile delinquents. But the truth is they're just children who have sustained abuse and neglect and need to be taken out of that situation and placed in a safe home. So if you get the information, it is something that really takes the fear out of fostering.
Wow, I can't even imagine. So the children where are they until they have a foster home? Do they stay at a place?
No, they're homeless, or sometimes they're in emergency shelters, but they can only be in emergency shelters for 24 hours. So they're just going shelter to shelter. And so I often take in infants, which is actually the highest need, which, you hear it's teenagers, but now it's infants, just because infants, need everything. So people don't want to take them, which is crazy.
Was there a moment for you when you decided, okay, this is the right time, I'm going to be a foster parent, and this is why?
Yes and no. I always wanted to foster. My parents, we were always a safe house. But the point came from my husband, actually, because, I was like, you're 50% of this couple. If you get the information and you don't want to foster, that's okay. I can find other avenues to give back into that field. So what it came down to for him was knowing that I was interested in it, but we have something called a special friend, which is like Big Brothers, Big Sisters. They're an organization called Child Help. And the little girl we were mentoring, you're not allowed to ask the children what happened to them unless they speak to you about it. And then you could say, how did that make you feel or whatever. And so we were playing with her on the playground. It was her birthday, and we'd given her these cupcakes, and she'd never had cupcakes before. It was her 8th birthday. And then we're playing on the playground, and she was like, so my mom called, and I'm really, really scared. And, she said, I'm going to die if I go back to my mom. I don't know what to do. And so I was like, okay, well, we're going to do something about it. You're in a safe place now. So then, of course, I get in the car with my husband. We're driving home, and he's like white-knuckling the steering wheel. He's like, when we get home, we are taking those foster care classes. So he's like fast-tracked it for him because we were trying to get her, and we didn't. But there's a purpose for everything. So I'm still in touch with her, and that's great. But that's really what led us to.
When you say you grew up in a safe house, what does that mean?
It means my parents, my parents are both retired, but my dad was a judge, and my mom was a director of a women and children's charity. So politically and by law, they could not be a foster parent, just because there's red tape and things can get really complicated. But we almost always had someone staying with us that didn't live with us, just because it was a safe place for them to be. So.
Wow, you have such an incredibly big heart.
Thank you.
I truly admire that. How are you translating that into your art?
That's a great question. So 2 years ago, a little over 2.5 years ago now, I started recording an album with Adrian Gervitz, who's an amazing producer. He wrote the Bodyguard soundtrack. I mean, he's known for so many things. He's won so many Grammys, and Andra Day was produced by him, who's amazing. And so he got on my radar, which is a long story, and we started creating this album, and he's really taken me through it, not let me auto-tune a single note. There's so many times where I was like, please, just let me auto-tune, everybody does it. He was like, you can sing, and I was like, I don't think I can, which was also a transformational thing for me, was finding my confidence. But the point of my album that I'm hoping and praying for is I want to build a children's village in the United States, where children who have been orphaned by the system through foster care or are otherwise orphaned, or teen moms, can come and have a home. Children that need to be adopted can be adopted and have a home base, so that when they experience Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that, they have a place to go and they have an identity. So that's what the funds of my album are going toward. So we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so exciting. And
thank you.
Your singles, the entire album, or just the record on October 5th?
So my first single, which is called King of Hearts, is out October 5th. I'm very excited. Every story, every song in my album is like a chapter of a story, and it's about love and loss and relationships, which we're all in, whether we want to be or not.
Touche.
And so that song is about, he's a king of hearts. They should name you the King of Hearts because you like to play with girls, and a guy who plays games. And we've all been in a relationship, hopefully not now as an adult, but, at least as a teenager.
We've met him a time or two.
We've met him or her a time or two, and just somebody that doesn't value you and that is not being committed to you. So it's a song, all my songs are about empowerment and just being okay with who you are and knowing that you're enough, and it's better to be single and, you know, empowered on your own than to be in a relationship that's half committal. So.
But it's so exciting because you have that commitment with your husband.
Yes.
How did you meet him?
Oh gosh, church picnic, so cheesy.
So cute.
That's cute.
Yeah, but we didn't date for 3 years. I was just like, he's not my type. I didn't think.
For 3 years.
Yeah.
And then what happened? How'd that change?
Oh, well, my cousin who always wanted to be related to him, she used to say, I've got to be related to this man. And I would say, okay, well, then you marry him and I'll be your bridesmaid. And she dared me to kiss him one night. And so I kissed him on the cheek, and then I was like, what have I done? And he leaned back over and kissed me. So then we were dating.
Wow. Oh, that's such a great story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
so
cute.
embarrassing, but
Aw.
so cute.
Wow. Well, you won his heart.
Well, you're an
Yeah.
amazing, extraordinary woman. Very touched by your story. I can't believe
Thank you.
everything you're up to, and we know total success. We know that village is already built.
Yes.
And just sending love out to all the children. If there's someone out there listening that's inspired, you should definitely listen to that calling.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
tell people where they can follow you.
On Twitter and Instagram at JEN_Lilley, LILLEY. Facebook jen Lilley official. And
Official.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.